Hello and welcome to Panda News, your leader in local news. My name is David Torres.
And I'm Eric Tren. Our top story today is about a woman who could not afford her medicine. This woman was named Deanna Plankton, and she could not afford her medicine for multiple sclerosis. She had not taken the medicine for 5 months because it was too expensive for her to pay for.
Her medicine was called Betaseron. It came out over 17 years ago, but it still costs over $2,000 a month. She and her husband only make around $2,000 a month. Her last MRI test showed significant disease progression.
That's a shame.
It is a really big shame. Luckily, I went on site with an expert to talk about why these medicines cost so much. Thank you for joining me tonight. So, could you tell me a little bit about your job and what exactly do you do?
I'm a scientist at Biogen IDEC in RTP. I work in the cell culture development labs, specifically the pilot plant. In the pilot plant, we develop our protein therapeutics. We take the protein from research. When they find any protein that we want to develop, they give it to us and we design and optimize the scale up so that it can actually be produced on a large scale. Personally, I work in the new technology division of our pilot plant. So when we want to bring a new technology in, I'm usually one of the first ones to vet it. This includes our disposable bioreactors and most recently our Raman spectroscopy as a tool for optimizing our process.
Since you work with biological medicines, you must be aware of the rising cost of biologicals. How does this affect your life personally?
So as I said, with my personal experience with the high cost, it really has driven me to do what I do, because really the whole point of my job is to optimize. And optimization is sort of a buzzword in the industry, but really what it boils down to is if we can take one batch and have the productivity of 10 batches, then we only have to pay for one batch, and that scales to the cost to the consumer.
So in your opinion, what factors attribute to the rising cost of biological medicines?
So the costs that go into actually producing a biologic are very wide-ranging, and there are a lot of upfront costs. Of course, we put a lot of money into research. We want to find new compounds, and that's very important to us. There's also the regulatory aspect is very expensive. Getting it pushed through the FDA, getting approval, making sure that we do the clinical trials correctly, and that that nobody is being harmed through the use of this drug. But in the actual manufacturing process, the classic way of producing a biologic is you have a giant stainless steel tank with thousands of miles of stainless steel pipe, and all of that pipe has to be cleaned and sterilized. And when you consider the cost of the water that we use, because it has to be of such a high grade, just as an example, we pay $8 a liter for the water that we use that goes into these tanks. And when you consider that these tanks are 20,000 liters, that adds up really, really quickly. And all that water has to be filtered, and the filters can cost $100,000 a piece. And then you need, a battery of filters. And so this sort of classic methodology of taking a giant stainless steel reactor and sterilizing it with steam and filtering water is a really expensive process. And it's, in addition just to the infrastructure of building these giant tanks. And in the past, when you had product when you're producing your product at a rate of maybe 100 milligrams per liter, you really needed these large volumes to produce enough material. But in the past decade, we've really pushed. Initially we hit the 1 gram per liter mark, and that was a big day for the biologics industry. And now we're pushing 5 and 10 grams per liter. And these large tanks are much less necessary than they used to be in the past, because we can produce a lot more in a smaller volume, which really leads us into our flexible or disposable manufacturing facilities, which have the ability for quick changeover, so it doesn't require the same steaming, sterilization, clean water as the large stainless steel reactors. And it also allows us the flexibility to put multiple products in a single facility without requiring a lot of the really expensive elastomer changeouts, which are what the actual diaphragms and the valves, and a lot of things that add up to millions and millions of dollars per batch.
Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for answering my question.
Well, that was very interesting. The inefficiency of stainless steel bioreactors are a huge problem in the medicine making process.
Oh yes, it is. As said before, stainless steel bioreactors are basically a steel tube with a paddle in it used to stir and maintain cells. They have multiple sensors in it, but the main part is the paddle. These are so expensive, not besides the capital cost, but because of the cleaning cost. If a single bacterium gets inside of these bioreactors, they have to be completely cleaned out and steamed down, and that process is very long and expensive and slows down production. A solution to this would be disposable bioreactors. Disposable bioreactors have a cheaper capital cost than stainless steel bioreactors. The only capital cost is the cost of each individual bag and the housing for the bags, which is much smaller than the stainless steel bioreactors. The main advantage for these, though, is the cleaning cost. Stainless steel bioreactors, as I said before, have a whole process for cleaning them. But disposable bioreactors, the only cleaning process there is taking out the bag, throwing it away, and putting in a new one with new media and new cells. This can save the company a lot of time and money. Since these reactors are so much smaller, more of them can fit in a facility. This, paired with a faster batch change time, increase the average output of medicine. These reactors can also be considered environmentally friendly. According to BioPharm, disposable bioreactors have a 25.4% less of a carbon footprint than stainless steel bioreactors. This is a very significant difference. On top of that, they also consume 29% less energy.
Well, that's all we have for today. I'm Eric Chen.
And I'm David Torres. Good night.